well, my guest tonight, former Everton, Swansea and Wales defender Ashley Williams. Welcome along. Right, we're going to get to Ashley. We've got loads to get through in the next couple of hours. We're going to start, though, with the latest twist in what was an epic title race. And last night was incredible. It could have been just a 2-point gap between the top two today. Instead, though, Arsenal lead by 7. So let's have a quick recap of the key moments from what was a dramatic night. Oh, what a night it was, Ashley. Look, however they're doing it, Arsenal are getting it done, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the way they're going to end up winning the league, which I think they will go on to do now. You know, I think after last night, there's just enough distance where they go on and get it done. And you know what? I'm pleased for Arsenal and the fan base and the players and the manager, because, you know, in recent years we've used words like flaky and crumble and bottle job.
Have you used those words?
Not me personally. I'm just saying it's been floated around. But this is the type of performance where, when they're not playing excellent, they've now got different ways to win a game, to hurt teams. And a lot has been said after the game about the way they did it. But, you know, I'm sure Mikel Arteta and the fans don't really care. They just want to lift that trophy. Yeah, exactly. And he said, you know, similar things to that in the post-match interview. We'll come on to the time wasting and a few other bits later. Just to come on to City, look, they went ahead twice at home. They just couldn't win. What do you make of them this season? I think they're just off the level that they have we've seen recently. We've become so accustomed to seeing such a fluid Manchester City machine, and I just think they're just a little bit off it. And you know what? I think they'd probably be, if it wasn't for Arsenal being so dominant this season, they would still lift the title. But I just think they've come up against a better team and club and squad this year. And they're like, you get results like last night, which we're not used to seeing. If City go ahead, normally they put the game to bed and they just control things. But they're not this year, and I think the difference of players, they had a good transfer window. That's made a big difference. That's let them have a little charge at Arsenal. But I think last night was a key result in dropping 2 points where they probably can't catch them now. Yeah, look, they still have that game in hand. It might not get played until May. Where do you stand on games in hand versus points on the board? Well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends what side of where you are. If you've got the game that could ultimately catch you up, but I think you'd probably rather have the points in the bag. I would, when I was playing. You know, you'd say, well, we've got those points, and you hope for the other team to not win that game. But as long as you're in control of the situation, so as long as you've put yourself in a position where it doesn't matter about the game in hand. I mean, Arsenal and Manchester City have still got to play each other, so that's going to still be a massive game. But Arsenal are now thinking, OK, well, if we win all our games, we win the league, and that's the position that you want to be in. As you say, right, the two sides face each other in the Carabao Cup final in 2 weeks' time, then again in the league in mid-April. How do you see these games playing out? A lot of pundits have said that Carabao Cup game, who wins that, will win the league. Do you agree with that? Not necessarily, because I think it's a one-off. A cup final's a one-off. With that being said, it might lead into the league game, but I can't see it. They're two separate games. One of them's a cup final where winner takes all on that day, and Manchester City could win, or any of the two teams could win the league game and still not go on and take it all. So I think they're two different games. It makes it interesting that these two teams that we're watching so closely are going to play each other in the final. But I wouldn't have it down as whoever wins the final wins the second game that's in the league. I think it's two different games. OK. Well, look, next up for Arsenal, it's Everton at the Emirates. So that will be your Saturday night football on March the 14th, live on Sky Sports Premier League. And then a week later, the top two meet in the EFL Cup final. This will be good. Another one live for you on Sky Sports Football, that one on March 22nd.
Win after win, but it's win after win. Surely it's up to you to stop Arsenal winning.
Well, I didn't see the Arsenal game, so I don't know what he's referring to. But there is, I have rowed back against the idea, not just because Keown's in the studio or Emmanuel Petit, and I just want to go the polar opposite to what they're saying. That there is a bias towards Arsenal in the media. But there seems to be an underlying set of seeded narratives being built out that somehow Arsenal are going to win this title by not being a very attractive side. And I'm not sure I agree with that. And I'm not sure that it's a narrative that should be allowed to be seeded. And I like the fact that Arteta just sort of blows back at it. The manager at Brighton's got other things that he should be doing with potentially preserving his job, because I'm not entirely sure they're 100% behind him as the manager.
Well, yes. Yeah.
And I'm not sure why we're in this. And it's amazing how something catches fire and it will subsequently become the orthodoxy. This will become the truth soon. it'll become the version of events that people tell. Once someone's decided something in their mind, whether it be a media presence or a football presence, it then catches wildfire, and then it spreads, it becomes an epidemic. And there you have now, at the end of the season, it will be, if Arsenal win it, they want it ugly. They're a set-piece side. They're not this, they're not that. They're not the Arsenal of old days. They're not this, they're not reflective of what the Premier League should be. Yeah. And it's nonsense. Arsenal are, to win a Premier League for the first time, I suspect you're not going to be the full rounded package. I bet Man City, when they won the Premier League for the first time, or whenever they won it, when they beat QPR on that last game of the season, and everybody was looking at them as a good side, but not the side they became.
Well, that's right.
Are going to be a version of themselves.
I think we're entering a strange Premier League culture war here, Simon, because you're right about that. I mean, Arsenal, boring, dull, gritty, grinding out results, but they're winning and they're top of the shop. They lead by 7 points.
Yep.
Manchester City have a game in hand. The two play at the Etihad next month. April the 19th is the date for your diary. And City needed to win last night to keep breathing down the necks, and they didn't.
But this notion, like I said at the beginning of the week, that people were going, ooh, the boogeyman's coming, Man City are coming. Well, it's not the same Manchester City side.
No, that's right.
And here we are now, and we can all sit down with these sort of clever navel-gazing insights to how to free kicks are in line with the three-point shot from the Golden Gate team from Sacramento, or whatever load of old cobblers he was talking about the other day. When it comes down to it, Man City aren't. Arsenal are going to win this league, not because they're under pressure from Man City, but because they're good enough. And Man City are not the same side that they once were before. And I was thrilled for Nottingham Forest they managed to get a point out of it. And what you're seeing at the bottom of the league is remarkable.
It's a scrap, isn't it?
The only team, the worrying thing for me, I know we'll get onto this as a separate subject. If you're a Tottenham fan, the only team that's not fighting at the moment, all of them are fighting. Look at West Ham; they're fighting. Forest are fighting.
Right.
Leeds are fighting.
Well,
the only team that are not fighting and are Tottenham. And let's be clear also, Palace are not out of this. This could go to 37, 38 points, 39 points, this relegation. And Palace are not in good nick for a variety of different reasons.
Which makes tonight huge.
It's a massive game.
Tottenham Hotspur against Crystal Palace tonight. Huge. But anyway, the fact of the matter is this. Arsenal lead by 7 points. They went down to the Amex in the South Coast last night against Brighton and they won by single goal to nil. That's about it. But Fabian Hürzeler, the Brighton coach, was having none of it post-match.
I loved the effort from my boys. I loved how they play football. I think there was only one team who tried to play football today, and therefore I'm proud how they did it. I asked one question. Did you see in a Premier League game a goalkeeper going down 3 times? No. In the end, it's about the rules. So if the Premier League, if the referee allow everything, then it's difficult. Then they make their own rules. So at the moment, I have the feeling they are doing their own rules, no matter how they are playing. So that's why I think it's difficult to judge that. Overall, like I said, I will never be that kind of manager who tries to win in that way. I want to develop players. I want that my players keep improving and keep playing football on the pitch. And in the end, of course, every team will manage and waste time. But I think there has to be a limit, and the limit has to be set by the Premier League. I'm not sure if I would ask now everyone here in the room, did he really enjoy this football game? I'm sure maybe one raises his arm because he's a big Arsenal fan. Where will this go in the future? That's my question. Where will this go? Like at one point, one game we play 60-minute netto time, and then when you play against Arsenal only 50 minutes, then it's 10 minutes different. So is this for what the supporters are paying for? Do you want to send off the goalkeeper with 2 yellow cards for wasting time? This will never happen. So what should he do?
So he really did go for it, didn't he? Fabian Hürzeler. We'll listen to that there. Some of it I agree with. Raya, I must admit, needs an equity card now and again. But at the end of the day, Arsenal won it. And Fabian, it was up to you in Brighton to stop them winning it. Post-match, maybe no great surprise, Arteta was like, really?
What a surprise.
Would you like to expand on that?
No. I mean, you just go back for the previous games and you will find a lot of comments like this always. So,
do you feel like that?
I love my players. That's that's the highlight. I love my players, we love our players, and I love the way we compete.
I mean, I think this narrative, Simon, is only going to ramp up in the run-in here. We're already in the run-in. Arsenal have got one hand on the trophy at the moment. Arteta's going to continue to defend his players the way he did there. And to be quite honest, fair play to him for doing that. If they win it this way, they win it this way.
Yeah.
And everybody else loses out.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not an Arsenal fan, so I don't have a dog in the fight. But I'm not offended by Arsenal as a side. I think there have been better versions of Arsenal. I think there's been more free-flowing versions of Arsenal. There's been more beautiful football. But at the end of the day, the team that wins the league are the team that deserves to win the league. I mean, last year, Liverpool were quite functional. They weren't the rock and roll side that previously was under Klopp's regime. There was a functionality about them. There was an efficiency about them.
Yeah.
There was a little tad more flamboyance because of the personalities inside the side were slightly more established. But notwithstanding that, they were still a relatively functional Liverpool side. And I look at it now and go, I don't really understand what... I push back, and not just trying to be a contrarian. I push back against the notion that there's a bias towards Arsenal. And when Emmanuel Petit and Martin Keown go off into the sunset about other pundits, and then I ask them, do they criticise other teams? Yeah. So it's not just against Arsenal. You're railing against punditry rather than their punditry against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But when I start to see this kind of conversation about the potential team that's going to win the league, and there's a real robust rebuttal. He's a well-constructed argument, and I'm sure there's points of it.
What, from Ursula?
Yeah, I'm sure there's points of it that have some real resonance.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go after another manager, which he has done in that interview, he's gone after another manager about how he wouldn't want to play. Well, you're never going to win the league, son. So you won't have to have that problem. With due respect to Brighton, you're not going to be winning the league anytime soon. You might get a bigger job if you do well at Brighton.
Yeah, undoubtedly there is something in this, though, Simon. I do recognise that fact. A couple of the lads who work in here, Arsenal fans, but both of them saying this morning, "Yeah, we're top, but it's not that great. A bit functional, isn't it?" And Alan Pardew, interestingly, on Co-Coms,
serial winner, yeah,
he went down that route when asked about how he views the way Arsenal are doing it.
At the moment, it looks like Arsenal are going to see it through. I mean, if they win this league and Man City drawing tonight, this will be a significant evening for it. There'll be an asterisk next to the name because...
I was going to say, what sort of champions will they be remembered as?
You've only got to look at them, really, in these type of performances and say it's just a functional display. It's a professional, functional display. They're good, they're strong, they're powerful, but there is nothing beautiful about them.
An asterisk next to the name.
Yes, I'm not sure what asterisks they would need to be after their name. I mean, is there an asterisk after any other side's name? You could look at Leicester City and say, because they're a fairy tale, wouldn't there be an asterisk against their name because all they did was get Danny Drinkwater to look up, knock the ball long, and Jamie Vardy to run onto it. And you could say there's an asterisk after that, but because it's a fairy tale, there's not. You could look at Blackburn in '95 or whenever they won the league and say, were they the best side in the league at times? And it could be that's just an absurd observation. You have to win. But going to Brighton on a Wednesday night is not an easy game. Brighton are not an easy team to play against. They've actually upset Arsenal in previous incarnations when Arsenal have been playing better brand of football, perhaps.
Yeah.
So the job is to go and win.
Yeah.
And what people would say is, can you win ugly when it's ugly? Can a champion win ugly when they have to? Now, when they have to win ugly and they're prepared to win ugly and show the characteristics of an underside to their slightly lightweight belly that people might have accused them of before, now they're going to be whipped by it. I don't understand what's going on. Why is there this necessity to suggest that Arsenal have got to be a beautiful team to win the league when that's never been the standard that other teams have been judged by?
Yeah.
And of course, yes, we've had it from Pep. But Pep Guardiola has had this wonderful luxury of being able to build teams with enormous amounts of money. And I've also made the argument that Arsenal have had lots of money too. I think this is... I'm not sure this is right. I'm not sure this is fair.
Let's put it out there,
I think there's a bias attached to it.
Is it because that I think Arsenal have emphasised so much defensively and in their pressing even, that it takes so much energy that the attackers, when they need to attack, haven't got the fluency, haven't got that delivery because they're tired, because there's so much emphasis on pressing and the defensive work. I mean, you look at, for example, the wingers. The wingers sometimes are fullbacks with the fullbacks themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I've said that all along. Like, you see Saka, you see Trossard, they probably do more running than any other wingers in the league. I'd love to see the stats, if I'm being honest. I think there was some kind of stats on that. And when you look at us without possession, what sometimes annoys me is that whatever striker we've got on is not on the halfway line. They are literally at the edge of our box. So we kick the ball away, there's no one to hold it up. I do think he asks a lot of the players. It's working, so I'm not going to complain in that respect. But it does take a lot out of us, and I actually think it's probably why we've lost the league in the last few seasons, because we always seem to drop off at the end. And the only reason why I've been confident this season is because we've got a bigger squad to cope with that. The problem is, I don't think he's using the squad as much as we'd like. Rice and Supermendy have played far too many games. They look like a shadow of themselves.